Alright guys, probably my favorite video so far, and I'm sure this is what y'all been waiting for, but the point of this video is to get the LS7 pair to the T56 and drop them to the E36. Alright, it's come to a point where I need this in there so I can start test fitting things. You know, stuff like the dry sump lines, fuel lines, getting the exhaust situated and everything. I just have to have it in there. So I'm gonna put y'all on time lapse because what I have to do is assemble this, just turn this into a long block, get the head studs installed, lifters, lift the trays, and you know, finally the heads. Y'all be patient. This may be a little bit of a long video. I'm gonna just go over some things. I'm gonna show y'all the heads and you know, a little bit of a little bit of a background on them. Same with the LS7 and everything, and you know, just time lapse me installing stuff. Then I have to do the pilot bearing, I have to attach the T56 to it, yada, yada, yada. So, yeah, let's get into it. All right, so I figured I'd start with the heads. Now, these are true LS7 heads. I got them for 600 bucks, and then I had to put 400 bucks into them at Bud Long Motorsports here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So, a valve dropped, right? The intake valve was bent and the exhaust valve was completely sheared off and broken. So I had to get a new intake, which is titanium, expensive, and I got a new exhaust valve. And what they did, they cleaned up the chamber. All right, they went through everything, cleaned it, and they did bronze valve guides. All right, which y'all know, some of y'all know the LS7 had valve guide issues. I believe from 09 to 2011, the production heads from that time, but they also have dual springs. And I elected for steel retainers because titanium is a softer metal than everything around it. So, but you know, these things spin to 7,000 stock. I'll probably spin it to 75. But yeah, they are CNC ported from the factory. Let's see if y'all can see that. Alright. Dual valve springs, BTR. Very light. The titanium, the intake valves are very super light, alright? So yeah. Getting these installed. All right, now that I gave y'all a brief overview on the heads, which again had they had a valve job and bronze valve guides installed, and you know, dual valve springs installed. Yeah, new seals. The LS7 I got for $4 grand. Shout out to Clark. I thought I got a hell of a deal. Cylinder number 7 failed. All right, you see the cylinder here. Cracked right here. All right. Several theories you can throw out there. The common one, some of you guys probably hear, is cylinder number 7 and 8. The way the intakes are designed, they naturally are a little bit leaner than the other intakes. Now, if you cam it, you push it a little too hard or whatever, the pistons can detonate. All right, and boom, they usually all look like this. It's weird, in the same spot. If you look it up, they all usually fail in the same exact spot. So, you know, this failed. Obviously, the head failed on that side, and it cracked the water jacket. Let me see if I can show you guys. All right, so this is number 7. This is number 5. All right, the neighboring piston's number 5. So, I don't know if y'all can see that. There's a little bit of welding in there. All right, they welded the coolant jacket back. They replaced the entire sleeve. All right, and once you do that, it pushes the neighboring cylinders out around. So this one has an oversized piston. I can't remember off the top of my head. I want to say 5,000, so I'm probably wrong. Maybe I'll drop the right number in the right here in text somewhere. But yeah, so everything was fixed, and I trust the shop. The shop was Tucson, Larry's Engine and Marine or something like that. Larry's Marine and Engine, something like that. They do a lot of strokers. All right, they have a lot of LS7s, yada yada. So everything should be good. All right, I did new bearings. You know, main bearings, new rod bearings. You know what I'm saying? The barbell diverter, oil diverter. I mean, I did a number of things on this thing, but it is gonna be mainly stock. All right, with and the tune, I'm gonna have them do a little bit richer, and just have a safe, you know, fun 500 wheel horsepower LS7 with dry sump. All right, the car is so light, I don't need to push 600, but you know, maybe one day I'll get froggy, throw a cam in it, and some heads, and the intake, and shoot for 600 to the wheel. But for now, I know I'll be content with this, you know. Okay, so before you even do anything, the very first thing you should do when you're building your LS block is grab one of these. This is the ARP tool. I don't know the part number. You could just take an OEM bolt and grind it down to look like this. I don't know how well y'all can see that, but it's grooved, all right? It has the threads and it has grooves, 4 grooves on it. And any dirt or anything that goes in it, it gets trapped, all right? You can see I just added a small, you know, pliers to it to kind of make the tool function easy. It's pretty much a thread tracer, all right? If you're trying to install head bolts and your block threads are dirty, what's gonna happen is the torque readings will be off, or if there's water in there somewhere, you can crack your block. All right, you can strip your threads, all kind of fuckery you don't want to happen can happen. So you do want to do this. All right, so I'm just pausing to show y'all. Y'all see that? Looks like part of the old, I don't know if it's thread sealer, whatever they use. Whatever GM uses, all right, was in there. This is why you chase the threads, all right? All right, so now that we chase the threads, next thing I'm gonna do is, I've actually had this set of head studs. You know, when did I get this? I had an iron block that had oil piston squirters and bigger studs. It clearance the block and the heads for bigger studs. This came with it. All right, the regular studs. I don't think they're ARP. I'm not sure what brand they are. Probably Speedmaster or something. I'm gonna roll the dice on these. I don't recommend y'all do. You can see how old this is. I wrote Gen 4 LS3 on it, so tattered. But we'll see if they break or not, you know? Pull one out. All right, actual head studs. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I don't know what brand this is. Pretty sure these aren't ARPs. But this is how easy, after you chase them, this is how easy it should go in, all right? You should be able to get it to bottom out by hand. All right, you see that? All the way in by hand. All right, so I'm gonna get these installed. So lifters in, pretty simple. Make sure you go OEM, LS7, Delphi, whatever you want to use. Just stay away from China, in my opinion. install on one side. So I can see it's really simple, really nothing to it. Lifters, lifter trays, head studs, head gasket, install the head. All right. So I'll put the other side on a complete time lapse and go from there. got the LS7 in long block form. It's the LS7 intake. Obviously, I take that off to drop this because I do have to change the pilot bearing. But everything went on smooth. Hit it with the impact, the studs, and then second pass 50 foot-pounds, and then last pass was 70 foot-pounds. All right, so everything looks good. Everything went in smoothly. All right, so I spoke about the engine enough on the LS7, but the T56 is a stage 2. All right, I got this in El Paso, so it was like a 6-hour round trip. It was only $1,800. Couldn't pass it up. Some of y'all know these go for like 25 or more. They're getting harder to find and more expensive. But this was rebuilt. Some of the things done is like the input shaft is new. you know, the billet keys and stuff like that, bronze shift forks, steel. You know, it was gone through, was rebuilt. You can see the markings from the company that did it. And they have, oh, it's on the other side. The logo is on here somewhere. So felt good, got a good vibe from the buyer, you know, bronze shift cup. But there is something alarming, you know what I'm saying? Carbon sink rolls, you know, that's important, the carbon sink rolls. So pretty much brand new training, couldn't pass it up. But then I took a look back here and look at that. That is insane. It looks like the output seal was leaking, and what they did was just slag. I guess it was in the car. They didn't feel like removing it because you got to remove the exhaust, drive shaft, yada yada. So I have a new genuine from GM output seal that is a different design. Hopefully it's an updated one. You can see I was already peeling some of the gasket away. Try to get it out with just the screwdriver. This style, not screwdriver, flathead. This style you can't do. So I did have to go and get a puller. So yeah, before I actually go over more of this and have to change stuff and yada yada, let me go ahead and pull this out real quick before I forget. I got it off. It's pretty easy. This tool was 13 bucks at AutoZone. You know, military discounts, probably like 12 or something. You know, for those of you who are military. I'm just gonna scrape the rest of this stuff off, wipe out the inside, and then install the new one. All right. So if I can see that, the new one doesn't seem to have. I'll pull it out and do it side by side before I install it. Here's the old seal, output shaft seal. Here's the new one. This one had very good reviews. A lot of people were skeptical, as I was, because it just looks completely different than what I'm used to, but there's the part number. See how it goes. Alright, the new one is on. Pretty simple install. I wish I had a socket that was big enough, but I didn't really have anything that was big enough, so I just used the flathead and a rubber mallet, and I just got it flat. Everything is flat. Just take your time, don't nick it up. Alright, let's move on to a slave cylinder. Okay, so I got this clutch line kit from Chase Bays. Here's the part number. And pretty much it adapts the this part right here, the bottom one. So I can just run a line straight from the slave cylinder to the clutch master cylinder or the BMW. I couldn't find an adapter. This was the only route I could go. I don't know if they make a special adapter. Probably do, but the clutch master already on the BMW is more than good enough for the T56 from what I've read, so that shouldn't be a problem. And this makes it super easy. I don't have to buy a bunch of adapters on adapters. It has the appropriate length and everything. But I wish I could have paid a little bit less. It was only 100 something bucks, like 109 bucks. But it came with a speed bleeder, and I already have a speed bleeder, so you know, no biggie though. So it looks like this is the line. This is the GM side. This is the BMW side. So just gonna have to take a punch and remove this pin here. I don't know if you guys can see that. There's a pin here, but I'll pull the slave off and work on the ground so you guys can see it a little better. And then up on top is the speed bleeder. which I recommend having a speed limiter because you can bleed the clutch from the top side, from the engine bay. All right, you have somebody in the car pushing the clutch while you crack this open and closed. Okay, this one is longer than the one that Chase Bay came with by a considerable amount. So I may just keep this one, or maybe I'll just use this one, the new one. Who knows? We'll see. But let me go ahead and pull that off. Okay, you see, what I had to do was, I don't have a punch. I know it's silly, but I have all these things that, you know, to get the job done. So once I use this little drill bit, or bit, or whatever the hell that is, I just use an appropriately sized actual drill bit. It knocked it out the rest of the way. All right, here's the pin. Save this, you need this. Once the pin is out, it comes right out, all right? Now this side here is threaded. So you can just unscrew this, screw whatever else you need in, whatever adapter. I suggest you get a speed bleeder, okay? Now, where's that line? Here it is. So you can definitely see this is what's needed. All right. So don't put the wrong end in here and close it up, okay? Let me go ahead and install this. All right, so that's on. Only headache I had was the fitting Chase Bay sent. All right, the cable is separate. All right, this is a little 3AN or 4AN, whatever they used. Looks like 3AN, but anyway, this little fitting they used wasn't machined properly, okay? This is the OEM fitting. You see, just in between my finger and the skinny portion, okay, right in the middle, that is where the pin sits, the pin you have to punch out. This portion up here, I don't know, man, the little circular part, I don't know how to explain. I suck at explaining stuff, I'm sorry. But that is too thick on this fitting, okay? So the pin is all marred and smushed in. I had to really force it in there. So if I ever have to change this slave cylinder, slave cylinder, I'm gonna have to completely replace this fitting, get another fitting, and just, you know, this cable can come off and on. Because I don't think I'll be able to get that out, you know, so hopefully nothing goes wrong when I try to bleed this thing, but if it does, then that's the culprit, okay? Now I have another fitting somewhere, but I don't think it'll be an issue. Or shouldn't be an issue. And I had, the tranny came with a speed bleeder, really long one. Now the only reason I changed it is to make everything uniform, you know, everything new. And also, this is a shorter line. So this line, you see this little, I have to adjust where I want that. Probably bring it back here and I don't know, zip tie it or something. I don't know how far this can go. Maybe I'll bring it back here and use this bolt or something. I'll get creative with it later, but this is much shorter. Now, I don't know how the long tubes are gonna fit, and trying to get this up in the engine bay and set up by the master might not be worth it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. And the downside to that is, whenever I have to bleed the clutch, I'm gonna have to be under the car with somebody inside the car, okay? As opposed to just standing up in the engine bay with this, but it's really no biggie. Okay, so I have to drop this back on the floor. And yes, all LS oil pans are load bearing, all right? If you get a little aftermarket, one of those thin pans, do not drop all the weight of the engine on the pan, okay? Don't do it. Now, this is a Dirty Dingo engine lift plate, and it's my favorite, man. I actually sold an engine with this on it once, and I was tight. I was mad about it because this is $50 I have to spend. Y'all know I'm cheap. super cheap. I mean, I seem like it, but I am very cheap, right? But yeah, all the lift plates are in this range, right? So why not get this one? It keeps the bolts in the contraption, you know? Makes it nice and easy, but I'm gonna go ahead and hook this up, drop the engine, and then we have to pull the old pilot bearing and install the new pilot bearing, and then install the clutch, all right? Okay, here we are at the back of the LS7. This LS7, I don't know if it came out of a Vet or a Z28 Camaro, but at either rate, it was paired to a TR6060. Okay, it's a TR6060 pilot bearing. Here's the part number. This is the T56 pilot bearing you need. Okay. So we gotta get this out. Now what I did, just rented a tool from AutoZone. Okay, may even end up keeping it. It's pretty cheap. So I gotta crack this open, and depending on if it'll grab onto the TR6060 version, usually it doesn't grab onto the T56 version. So I usually have to modify them to work. So I'm gonna see if it'll work. If it doesn't work, pulling this out, if it just pops out without the bearing, then I have to modify this, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay. Do not use no fucking bread or grease when you're doing this. I wish I still had the video of my favorites. A guy actually put bread in here to get out the pilot bearing, and it popped the freeze plug behind the crank, and he had bread all in his crank, all in his inside his engine. He had to completely tear his engine down to get it out. So please don't do that. Just go rent a tool from AutoZone. Let me open this and see what happens. Alright, y'all, it's a whole new day. I ain't gonna hold y'all. The last two just broke. So I had to wait last night and this morning until all the stores opened. And I went and got this one, okay? Alright, it's a 3-jaw puller. This one should do the trick. Because the last one, you just gotta shave down the prongs on the arms so they'll catch the bearing and pull it out. And it usually works that way. It was starting to come out. It caught and everything, but then boom, the arm broke in half. So one got 3-arm jaw puller. That one should work. Let me throw it on and hopefully we get this bearing out. Okay, it is out. It's free. All right, man, this was not difficult, it's just annoying. Okay, got it out. Show y'all why I need to upgrade. Okay, again, here's the part number. Alright, this is for the T56. Alright, that's for the TR6060 T56. Okay, guys. So, and also while we're here, when you're installing this end goes in. All right, this rounded end. All right, you see the rounded bezel, I guess. This is where the T56 input shaft goes. So this should face the clutch. This side should face the engine. All right. Also, before I forget, you can see where I had to shave the prongs down, okay? Because it wouldn't fit inside the bearing otherwise. It was too big. So just take a grinder to it, grind them down. I didn't film that this time, but y'all get the idea. Shave them down and it'll fit right in there. All right, so the T56 pilot bearing, again, there is a rounded edge. So the input shaft can go in, you know, and it can find its way in, slide in. This side you want to put facing the engine, okay? This side facing the engine, this side facing the clutch. That way, so when you put your tool in to remove it, it has a flat surface to grab onto, okay? Now this sits a lot further in than the T56 or the TR6060 bearing. This sat on the outside, this goes in deeper, okay? I have a 19 mil socket here. I don't know if you guys have the proper tools. You know, I do things a little differently. This fits over the face of it. Okay, I'm gonna just take a hammer to it and knock it in place. I've done this on like 12 engines now. Never had a problem, so that's just the method I do. You can see I got it in there flush. That's all you need is flush, just about flush. You have a little bit of leeway, I'm sure, from where the tip of the input shaft goes in and where it bulges out to hold the clutch disc or whatever. But yeah, now let's move on to putting this clutch on. Also, this LS7, I've never seen this before. I don't know if I'm gonna use this or not. Probably will just reuse it like a metal gasket. I never seen it before, so just in case y'all are wondering what that was.
you're gonna come to a point where the slave cylinder the spring will be pushing against the clutch and preventing the transfer from sitting flush, at least for my bolt. So I had to get one longer bolt and let it suck it in a little bit, and then just start ratcheting on each one on each side. So it pulls in closer and closer. So I'm using Pencil Tucky's mount. Shout out to Alex. I've been pestering him with all kind of questions. But he had them made to order and they were here, I think, within a week and a half. But yeah, I could not be bothered to use CX Racing because I just don't like that company. I am using their long tubes and these are compatible with the long tubes. So yeah, I'll drop a link to these in the description. Really well made. Another thing, they do come with Delrin mounts. I believe these are Delrin, all right, on each side. And these were bare steel when I got them. I hit them with self-etching primer, and I think the only paint I had was like header coating paint or something like that. So definitely slapped together some paint on this, but it looks good. And it should help it not, corrode. So. So I had to take it back out. This front, there's two oil drain plugs on the LS7 pan. This one is contacting the subframe. All right, so what I'm gonna have to do is just notch this area. I'm gonna have to cut it out and make a passageway. I don't really see another way around it. But yeah, let's get to cutting. Cut the notch out. Lighting isn't the best, sorry, but yeah, I kind of just marked it with the little flathead while it was in there and followed the lines. So let's drop back in and see if it fits. mounts is pretty straightforward. I gotta find bolts for this trans mount, but one thing I gotta drop this again. I'll do that another time. You see that I gotta cut that out, whatever that is. Then it'll clear the way for the shifter. All right, so hopefully I don't have to take the whole thing out, but I'm sure I can just drop it down, let it tilt down a little bit and yank it that way. But there it is. All right, so we are officially LS7 swapped. Nothing's ever easy, you know, but it wasn't difficult by any means. Because I gotta try and be different and actually use the LS7 dry sump. Y'all seen before the bolt, but it cleared now. I just won't be able to change the oil from that drain plug because you know LS7s have 2 drain plugs, certainly 3 because you have to drain the tank too. But you know, I'll just have to drain from that side. But otherwise, it fits great. You know what I had to do, and a lot of this wasn't on camera, because this is probably a long video, but the subframe is 4 bolts holding it up. I just had to loosen those so it can drop down a little bit, and you know, drop it in that way. I installed this side motor mount all the way and dropped it in. This one was off. I put this one on after it was in because it will not clear the frame if they're both on. All right, so, and I suggest pushing the bolt through the bottom to the top because that was just way easier for me, easier to tighten and everything. And I can already tell getting the exhaust on is going to be fun, and getting to the clutch line is going to be even more fun. So hopefully I didn't put this in too early, but I think it'll be fine. Okay guys, wrapping things up. It's in, man. It's always I don't know, man. It's always a dope moment when you drop in the engine to the chassis, right? It's officially swapped. Now some tips I have, all right? I have an ATI balancer on here, man. I always use them in swaps. The GTO, I think I used the LSA balancer, and that was only because it didn't have solid mounts. This has solid mounts and a poly trans mount. So naturally, you're gonna get more NVH, you know, noise, vibration, harshness. But in my experience on the Genesis, I went from a stock balancer to an ATI on the Genesis and my GTO. When you put that ATI on there, it eats up like 80%, 75%, 80% of the vibrations, right? It makes it much more pleasurable to deal with inside the cabin, as far as like, you know, if you street the car, you want to drive it all over like I do. But yeah, that's why I always use ATIs. Another thing, again, shout out to Alex at Pennsyltucky. He made these mounts because I just don't like CX Racing. Their mounts look cheap, but their exhaust is fire. I'm using their long tubes. I have them in the house. So I'm definitely gonna do a video on test fitting that because these mounts were made to clear those long tubes, okay? And then obviously I have to clear the steering shaft. I think the steering shaft fits in between the exhaust. So look out for a video on that. And then me clearancing the cabin or whatever needs to be clearanced to fit the MGW shifter in there, okay? So, and then from there it'll be test fitting the dry sump lines, gas lines, stuff like that. So hopefully I don't have to remove this engine and trans. You know, hopefully I can maneuver around it, you know, we'll see. But it's in, guys. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Any tips, yada yada. Oh, before I get out of here. As far as matching the subframe, you engineers chime in, but I don't think it's gonna be a problem. It's pretty thick material. I cut through steel, whatever it is, iron, I don't know, probably steel. But as well as the X brakes I have connects to 2 spots on the front subframe and then the body in the back. So
As far as rigidity and stiffness, I don't think it'll be a problem. It's just a small piece of metal I took out. But yeah, man, pretty straightforward, except for you dry sump guys. Like I said, there is 3 places to drain oil when you have dry sump LS7. All right, there's the front of the pan, the side of the pan, and then the oil tank. So I'm gonna be losing out on draining the front, but that's fine. I'm not gonna care. The side and the tank is where the majority of the oil is gonna sit. So yeah, like I said, other than some small quirks I covered, it's been a straight forward swap, you know? So y'all let me know, subscribe, like. I love to interact with y'all. Y'all leave y'all comments, thoughts, likes, ideas, whatever. And also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram, okay? Not because I want to grow my follower count, but because the minor details in between videos, I put everything in my stories, all right? I'm completely transparent. So y'all check that out, all right? I'll see y'all next week, next video.